It's me again.
All right, guys, we're back. Thank you for joining us. Another episode of the Jordan Patrick Show. Tonight, we're going to talk about drunk Brady, intense Brady, the Brady that just wins. We'll also talk about how this is potentially the most wide-open QB market ever in the NFL. We'll wrap up the show with what the MLB is doing with baseballs in the offseason and how that could change offensive production going forward. Stay tuned, guys.
When the smoke clears, we'll see you standing. I'm up. I can win. 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 Again and again and again and again. I can win. I can win. I can win. Again and again and again and again.
Welcome back, guys. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Jordan Patrick Show, where we keep you guys informed on what's going on in the world of sports and do our best to make sure that you're entertained along the way. So sit down, grab a beer, and we'll tell you how much we love AJ Hinch. But before we get to that point, guys, I want to ramble something off to you that I dropped on our Instagram, our YouTube. Just sit back and listen for 1 second, right? The Cardinals, the Falcons, the Bills, Panthers, Bengals, Browns, Lions, Texans, Jaguars, Chargers, Vikings, Titans, Jets, Bears, Rams, Saints, Seahawks, and Eagles all have less Super Bowls than Tom Brady. That's a fact. Just sit on that for 1 second. Think about that. I'm not going to repeat the teams. 18 teams, though,
Combined.
have less Super Bowls than Tom Brady.
We're not on that list, pal. Yay!
My Jags are definitely on that list. So, just want to. I heard that stat, and I heard that it's a crazy fact to think about. But those teams, as a whole, generally speaking, are pretty shitty teams. So it's not too impressive when you think about it. But what this man has done in his career over 2 decades, you basically flip a coin. He's making it to a Super Bowl. He's been to, 20 seasons? He's been to 10 Super Bowls. Lost 3 of them, won 7 of them. Most recent one in Tampa.
This was his 21st year, right? Well, 20th playing, because he sat his first year.
Correct.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Okay, wait. Yeah, you're right.
That is wild.
So
20 years being a starting quarterback in the NFL. Unreal.
pretty impressive. Mm-hmm. Basically flipping a coin, you're going to make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So what does it take for him to garner some kind of respect? Do you feel as if he has it at this point is what I'm asking? Because I'll lay out this question for you. When he had 6 rings, I don't feel as if he got the respect for the term that everybody's throwing around of GOAT. But he is the greatest of all time, in my personal opinion, now that he's got 7. What is it actually going to take for Brady to get the respect that I feel as if he deserves?
Beat the NFC East in the Super Bowl. No, I'm just kidding. This particular year, I feel that because he was not with Belichick, he got a lot more credit, a lot more accolades because of, I wouldn't call it a divorce, I would call it a separation, but because they weren't together. And, for, a lot of people that like to get in the nitty-gritty of his 2 dynasties, because they were kind of spread apart over 20 years in New England, 3 early and 3 later in his career with like about 8 or 9 years in between without winning. The first 3, a lot of people would say, oh, on the backs of the defense, and you had Adam Vinatieri. Look at the final scores. They won by 3 each time in the first 3. He had the 2 L's to the Giants, and then he beat Atlanta and Seattle, which really started like stamping his legacy because he had that big comeback in both those games, especially Atlanta. He lost to Philly, but motherfucker threw for 500 yards. Then you got the, we know that the Patriots have had the accusations with the scandals. I think that the Deflategate was BS. Spygate had a lot more to it. So you take that as you will. And, to be fair, Spygate had a lot more to do with the defense, not the offense. And, if I'm going to call it down the middle, that's fair. I feel that had a lot more to do with what was going on the defensive side of the ball. And
so is he the greatest of all time? That's the question.
In my opinion, yeah. So the question is, it's kind of a 2-part question. Is he the greatest of all time, and what is it going to take for him to get that respect? because I don't feel like there's people out there that are these talking heads a lot of the time too. They're angry that he keeps beating their team. Is that really why you're that upset?
The fairest way to break this down, is he a better quarterback? I'm going to name 3 guys.
Go ahead.
Is he a better quarterback than Joe Montana?
Yes.
Is he a better quarterback than Peyton Manning?
Closer. That's a closer argument to me than Joe Montana.
Is he a better quarterback than Dan Marino?
And that's not recency bias either. Yes, he's better than Marino, and that's not because Marino doesn't have any rings either. That's numbers-wise.
None of us have seen Otto Graham play. Otto Graham is the only guy that has the same amount of championships at that position in professional football, and he's, I believe, the 3rd best passer rating in NFL history. I saw them both play. I'm lucky to say that. I saw Montana and Brady. Oddly enough, my team's 4 championships went through both of them, and that shows the standard of how great these guys were. Because my team might have snagged a couple in both the Brady-Montana era, but that's the whole point. Montana and Brady ran their eras. Now, I try to take into consideration the eras, because a player in Montana's era at that position, playing the amount of years that Brady has, that longevity didn't happen, and I think a fair case is because the game was a lot more violent. Quarterbacks were not protected in that regard. When Montana got hurt for real, he sat out almost 2 years before he came back to the Kansas City Chiefs and took him 1 game shy of a Super Bowl, which for the time was pretty damn impressive. 4-time Super Bowl winner, changing conferences. He got beat by Buffalo. Buffalo was in their final Super Bowl, their 4th disappointment in a row. But the thing is like, you know how like in the NBA, we tend to compare Kobe and MJ so frequently and so easily? I feel that Brady, on so many layers of his game, is the mirror image of what Joe Montana was. Not the most physically gifted, but always the smartest player on the field, and just flat out the biggest winner. That can't be denied.
Yeah, Joe made it to 4 and won all 4. So that's pretty impressive in and of itself.
And I don't like to dilute anything that Tom did, because when Tom first came up, as opposed to now, Tom was still in that era where they were still dulling out ass whoopings to quarterbacks. It wasn't like when he came in 2000 that was flag football, so to speak.
No, but it's a lot more. He's a lot more protected now, for sure. Obviously, by the rule changes.
As he's gotten older, I would say in the last third of his career.
For sure.
There's always going to be a great debate about it, because some people would argue in favor of Brady that, the Niners stayed together because the salary cap wasn't a thing. Free agency wasn't as big of a prevalent thing in Montana's era. Other people would argue in Montana's favor and say, less teams made the playoffs, higher quality in the playoffs of guys you ran into. They didn't have all these extra wild cards and 7 and 9 teams and 6 and 10 teams sneaking in. And I'm making fun of my own division right now, but just keeping it 100.
Speaking of that, El, what's your opinion? Is he the greatest of all time to play that position? And if you don't,
so, Richie, did you answer it?
I didn't.
I thought
I kept hearing.
I was like,
is Brady the greatest QB of all time?
I'm reluctant to say it, despite winning all those championships, because I believe that it takes a team to win. And this particular year, especially the last 3 weeks, I feel that his defense carried that whole show into when you hold your opponent to 9 fucking points.
Not just any opponent. Fucking Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs.
When you hold them to 9 points,
Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce.
It is a little disrespectful and a little annoying that the only person you're hearing about is Tom Brady. I'm sorry.
No, this is the discussion I'm having about him. I'm making it about him right now. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Across everything, or every platform right now, all you hear about is Brady.
So we played on defense, right? So that's our own biases. It is very frustrating to see that conversation being modeled this. Tom Brady took the Buccaneers to this. You know what? Their defense was coming a long way last year. Mm-hmm. It's not like he walked into a team that was total shit. They had pieces, and they had a quarterback that fucking threw the same number of picks as touchdowns.
Yeah.
Yes,
minus Jameis Winston. They were going to be good this year. Mm-hmm. Tom Brady is still the greatest of all time, and it fucking pains me to say it, but it's the truth.
I'll say this. Whether it's Joe or Tom, the fact that my team was able to have enough success against both those guys. I mean, shit. I kind of blame my team for the fact that Brady is considered the GOAT, Because if we didn't end Joe Montana's 49er career, maybe we wouldn't be having this conversation. Maybe Joe would have hung around a little longer and won a couple more. I mean,
if you really want to simplify it, if the Falcons just ran the ball a little bit more and ran the
and
clock
Darryl
down,
Bevel
clock
fucking
management
just
came
gave
in
it to beast mode.
We can break this down in a lot of different ways.
So look.
Brady's looking more like LeBron.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like to cross
He would have had 2 more
platforms here.
Super Bowl losses than Jim Kelly.
Well, okay, so it depends on your definition of greatness, right?
Yes, there's
What
a
is
lot of
greatness?
variables.
What is
Winning.
We have this
If we're
conversation.
talking about the greatest winner, that anybody that knows how to count can say that.
We're not talking about hardware all the time. Marino has none, but he's still in that same conversation.
He's in that conversation because he put up numbers in an
matter.
era that did not see those numbers.
Hardware doesn't always matter.
So here's why Brady's the greatest to me. Let me tell you real quick. Greatness is defined by consistency. Mm-hmm. If you can be good every fucking day, you can be the greatest. Mm-hmm. Because in a fucking moment of breathtaking amazement, I don't want Tom Brady. That's where I want Lamar Jackson. And that's been my criticism of him on this show. I think he's done some of the most incredible shit I've ever seen on a football field, but I don't think he's a great quarterback.
Lamar. Talking about Lamar.
I'm
Yeah.
talking about Lamar because he doesn't do it consistently. Brady, his whole career is the model of fucking consistency. He's like a goddamn robot. That's why it's not exciting for non-fans.
Very, very boring. He checks down more than any other quarterback in the league. That's he gets a lot of hate for that, but you know what? It works. It's his game.
He makes the correct throw and he puts it in the right spot.
The only person I see that does that, not as good as him, but almost as good as him, is Patrick Mahomes. And it didn't show well and present well in the Super Bowl. He ran 497 yards sideways or something. But
speaking of Mahomes,
he does make great decisions, generally speaking.
He's the future of the league. If we're like right now, out of all active quarterbacks, if we're talking solely on pure talent and the ability to throw a ball wherever the fuck they want, it's Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes.
I'd even say Aaron over Patrick right now. Obviously, coming off the MVP.
When I see a guy throwing the ball off his Achilles and throwing it 30 yards down the fucking field,
getting wrapped up.
That dude is a big deal.
With turf toe.
And then the next tier is your Josh Allens, and then you can discuss other guys. But those, in my opinion, those are the two best quarterbacks in football.
He was diving sideways as he threw that.
That was
Tom Brady had the benefit
with the toe injury.
I'm sorry, I've never seen a quarterback with the worst stat line have such a good game.
Yeah, it was weird.
Like he did
That's well said.
everything
well
he could. Like that game was not on Patrick Mahomes.
They gave him no time.
I've voiced my opinion on this in the recent past. Tom Brady is great, but the situation that he walked into was an owner that was willing to do everything that Brady needed to enhance parts of his game that were lost.
Okay, so
because this time last year, everyone thought that this man was washed up. And a big reason for that is because he was kind of exposed that he couldn't get it done without superstars around him.
Right.
And I feel that is a valid point.
Right. I mean, he had nobody to throw to in New England.
He didn't leave New England because he didn't like playing for the organization.
Correct.
He left because he didn't feel that he was going to be
had
patient
good targets
enough to play with younger players.
Yeah,
he wanted established guys on every
He didn't have
facet
time
of his team.
to wait for the talent to develop. So to your point here, he went down to Tampa, already had an established team. He's throwing to Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Scotty Miller. That's why.
Antonio Brown.
But here's the thing, though. That's my point. He has the pull.
Gronk.
He has the pull to bring in guys like Antonio Brown, to bring in Gronk out of retirement.
It was a super team format, like
to bring in Leonard
Fournette.
Fournette. I mean, he's a receiving back.
For Christ's sakes, Shady McCoy barely played this year. The dude has dust on him, and he was on that team.
He was?
Yeah.
Briefly. So do you think Gronk comes out of retirement for any other team?
No.
Right.
And I think Gronk's going back into retirement.
Exactly.
I don't think he's coming back next year. No. I don't. O.J. Howard will be healthy. Cameron Brate comes back. Gronk goes back.
I think Gronk goes off into the sunset, too. I agree with you there.
I think he's done.
Here's the thing that aggravates Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, who we were just speaking on.
Yeah.
They want the ability, this is my perception, and this is how I take it. I could be completely off here, but Brady has the pull with this ownership, with this coaching staff, with, BA has his back. Bruce Arians has had his back since day one, and he lets him kind of do whatever he wants, and the ownership lets him bring in who he wants, bringing in guys like AB and Gronk, like I just said, and Fournette. He's able to pull that trigger, and he's getting the respect, and they're letting him make it happen.
I will say this.
Aaron Rodgers has been begging to have that happen and allow that to happen, and they're not letting that happen for him.
I agree with you, I would say about 50, 60%. This is the thing.
Okay.
You hit a solid point that's a very real one, but this is the other part of it. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers historically have been very bad, with the exception of their other Super Bowl season. They have consistently been very bad.
Yeah.
They have the biggest losing percentage of all teams. So, historically. So, what's throwing that kind of money? How old is he? 43?
Brady's 43.
At a 43-year-old for 2 years to see if they can get it done and change the trajectory of everyone's opinion of them, whereas Seattle and Green Bay are established teams before Russ and Rodgers walked in. But to your point, and it's funny you mentioned both these guys.
True, though.
Because Russell Wilson is very angry with the Seahawks, and they're very angry with him for him voicing his opinions on his displeasure. He wants to be more involved. That O-line in Seattle is terrible.
Doo-doo.
Now, in Rodgers' case, he's on the other side. He's clamoring that he wants more receivers because Russell Wilson has the receivers. He doesn't have the O-line. Rodgers has the O-line. He doesn't have the receivers.
Right. So you got...
But they're both bitching because they're missing something on offense.
Exactly. And Russell, he's got DK and he's got
And they're
Lockett.
older.
Well, that could be part of it, though. Like
they're running out of time.
Brady can be a spoiled-ass little something when he's not winning. Yeah. However... His O-line was patchwork to start the year. They really were one of the most improved units on that team over the course of the year.
And they built around a rookie. They really did.
Exactly. Tristan Wirfs.
Yes.
Yeah. So Brady took a beating at the start of this year, and that was
the
a big
Rams
reason
and Bears
why they weren't doing
particularly
well.
kicked his ass. And the Saints twice.
The point is this. Well, Brady was acting like a pissy schoolgirl bitch after the game. You didn't hear him popping off and talking in the way that we're kind of seeing these other quarterbacks doing.
He just did it behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I think he's learned that much.
He didn't put his teammates on blast because whether you like it or not, Rodgers is dissing the receivers he has.
Except for Devontae, of course.
Devontae that goes without saying.
But to put it in perspective, I go back to last year. It wasn't like the Patriots weren't trying to accommodate Tom Brady. The same Antonio Brown that Tampa welcomed in ruined his season last year with the same case that he is fighting while he is a member of the Buccaneers. The Patriots got rid of him immediately. And then you have Josh Gordon. Now, you put those two players along with Julian Edelman last season on a New England team, that changes a lot of fate over there. And maybe Brady doesn't feel the need to have to cut out of town. But at the same time, I can't blame New England, who has made it a mantra of staying relevant by moving on from players that they can find comparable value.
Absolutely their MO. That's Belichick. He
and the
squeezes
thing
every
is,
ounce of value.
People are blowing shit out of proportion because in 1 year, Bill Belichick went 7-9, and everybody's having a shit fit saying that he can't win without Tom Brady. They're like, oh, he never won without him. He never had to. Well, Motherfucker won 11 games with Matt Castle.
It's being blown up because Brady obviously won. That's why it's being...
It is silly, though. It is silly.
People forget, too, because Brady signing for them was such a big deal. The Buccaneers were a team with potential last year.
Yes, they were.
A lot of people felt they were a quarterback away from contending as they were. And then they had the fucking sweepstakes lotto of every fucking free agent signing with them to do the whole super team, almost South Beach, but whoops, we took a wrong turn kind of thing. So
the Bucs were 7-9 last year. This year, 7-9 wins the AFC East, and this year Tampa Bay gets to play that division winner. I mean, the Bucs weren't far.
What did they spend on that contract? Did he get?
That's what I meant to say.
I know.
Did he get $50 million over 2 years, Brady?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
We need to.
I think it was around 50.
I think it's 50. It's something
it was
near
like
that.
24 or 25
a little
years.
less than
Very
that. Yeah.
close to that figure.
So to your point, for Tampa to take that shot in the dark, it's not really a shot in the dark. They're taking a shot on Brady to throw that money at him to see if he can get him to that point and get him over that.
And a lot of it has to do with their history. They were a little more desperate to have the stones to make, because this is the reality of making a move like that. Your future is a little murky when you do something like that, because you invest so much in a short-term plan that it's win or you're fucked.
But look at the QB market right now, and this is
that's
a good time to talk
segue,
about
yeah.
that. But like, you know, the amount of money you have to pay for an elite quarterback, which Tom Brady undeniably is,
Yeah, he
despite
is.
the waning athleticism, he's still one of the
even if
best
he's
doing
eroding
it.
in some areas, he's still a top tier guy.
Right. So, you know, he can't do some of the things these younger kids can do physically, but no one reads the game better. So he's still performing at an elite level. Yes, you pay him that much. Easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
Without batting an eye.
But it wouldn't make the same kind of sense, so to speak, for, say, a more established team, maybe that has... Because the thing is, I think it's fair to say that when you looked at Tampa's roster last year, while we all know that they had legitimate potential, there wasn't any one particular guy where you're like, that's our face, that's our franchise, that's a guy that unequivocally in 3 or 4 years is bringing home a Lombardi.
Well, that's what they were saying about Mike Evans, and then Godwin outperformed him.
Who's the face of the league that's not a QB? They were a QB away from being a good team last year.
Very few guys have worn that hat.
I would say J.J. Watt, man. I mean, we'll talk about him in a little while. I mean, but he's got the potential to
Very
be that
few
guy.
guys, and normally defensive guys, they pass it back and forth, like Aaron Donald now.
Yeah.
A few years back, Richard Sherman.
Exactly.
But they wear it
Donald's
for
a good
shorter
player,
terms.
But he's not.
But
No one's talking about him
face
as
of the league
face of the
is
league.
what
Right.
L's talking about, and I agree. I mean, there's not really a guy that's outside of a quarterback position that can be the
Occasionally
face
you'll
of the
get
league.
a running back, but we're past
Maybe,
that era.
but
you
yeah,
know?
maybe.
Who was it? Marshawn Lynch back in the day.
The closest
Beast
guy
mode.
right now that on any given Sunday can be that guy is the two contrasts. It's either going to be Christian McCaffrey or it's going to be Derrick
That's a good
Henry.
one. No,
Because
I don't think it'll be
Derrick
King.
Henry's he's always once a week he does something where you're like, yeah.
Damn. But
He does, and that makes him a Sports Center highlight, but he is still not pushed as the face of the league.
He's not a McCaffrey, and I feel like your point to McCaffrey is actually better than King Henry. And I love Derrick
I said
Henry.
the word contrast because Henry is more of your traditional kick your ass back, where McCaffrey's a wave of the future.
and he's flashy.
but Henry puts up crazy numbers. And
Henry
nonetheless,
stays healthy, though.
How many commercials have you seen him in?
right.
No, you're right
exactly.
about
Under
that.
the radar. That's what
And
happens
Christ, you
when
see
you play for
James
the AFC
Harrison,
South.
who's been retired for a while, in more commercials than Derrick Henry. That's a good
Right.
point. I didn't even think about that.
But let's bump this on, guys. Moving along to this QB market. El, I mean,
Crazy.
it's wild. It's wide open right now. A lot of potential things can happen here with like who we were just talking about. Russell Wilson, pretty unhappy. You got Deshaun Watson, unhappy. J.J. Watt now leaving after a decade
Today.
in Houston today. We actually, you guys can
Heartfelt
follow us
message
on
to the Texan
Instagram and
fans.
Twitter.
Very classy on
and
his
see the
part.
messages that we left. And I actually retweeted J.J. Watt's tweet that he announced directly from his cabin in Wisconsin. Wanted to get it out to his fans and just say, you know, this is what's happening. I want you guys to hear from me. So you got a lot of movement going on. And what I'm saying by letting you know that J.J. Watt's gone is that's either, in my opinion, Houston either having to lock in Deshaun Watson, or they're maybe cleaning house.
Full rebuild.
Yeah, complete rebuild.
They're talking a good game that they want to keep Deshaun because they want top dollar for him,
Yep.
top value.
He's out.
But
I agree.
I'm going to call it in advance. I know a lot of people have alluded to the New York Jets picking second, that they're in a position to get him, which they are. I still think at the end, he ends up in Carolina. I'd rather have him play for the Jets.
And, okay.
Carolina's in the NFC.
So to this point, real quick, I'm going to jump in on this. I think he's going to end up with the Jets. I think the Jets are actually putting Darnold out there, putting the feelers out there. There is some attention that they're drawing for Darnold, and that's possibly going to happen.
Bridgewater
I think he's a
in
great
Carolina's
fit there.
case. But Carolina has, similar to the Jets, has a shit ton of cap space.
You could almost work backwards on this subject. How many starting level QBs aren't we talking about being moved?
I mean,
you know what I mean? Like
you got the middle guys, like the Cam Newton's gone.
Right.
he's going somewhere.
Teddy
though.
Bridgewater
Maybe. It
didn't
took him
really
forever to
endear
get picked
himself
up.
to Carolina too well. Kirk Cousins, everybody's laughing at him.
Carson
Wentz, I think is more. He's an in between kind of novelty because
So who's staying where they are and no one's talking about them moving? You got
Daniel
Tua,
Jones.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, half of your fan base disagrees with you, maybe
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
Um,
The Cowboys haven't committed to Dak.
Nope, that's
not with this,
100%.
and now with this Russell Wilson shit.
Hey, you want to get specific? They had a hype video for next season, and Dak wasn't in it. That's how fucking sad Cowboys fans have gotten.
And it's going to cost them a lot more
No
than if
shit.
they would have handled their business last year. But now the kid got hurt. There's doubts. I'm calling it now. Dak's getting franchised this year. And a year from now, he's not going to be a Dallas Cowboy.
Play shitty games, win shitty prizes.
He might be a Giants quarterback, and I'm not saying that to be funny. It actually makes a lot more sense than even I thought about until we kind of group texted this morning.
Okay.
Jason Garrett's there. Daniel Jones is very erratic. There's no guarantee that he might not get run out of town this time next year.
To answer your question, I think Daniel Jones stays put. I don't care what the...
Well, this year for sure. But if he has another stink bomb, he might be out.
Okay, so if Russell leaves, where does he go? Where's a good fit for Russell Wilson?
Well, as I alluded to, the Cowboys make a lot of sense. He gets comparable weapons on offense, but he also is in a position with a team that is acknowledging that they have to get better on the other side of the ball.
Where does he go in your opinion? If he leaves.
I don't think he leaves. I think it's a smokescreen. I think he's pretty happy there. I think he's been there his whole career.
He wants to be heard.
A chance on him.
Okay.
When he was not highly touted coming out of NC State.
Far from a football school.
Yeah, I think this is an Aaron Rodgers-esque cry for get me what I want.
Okay.
That's valid because
give the man an O-line. Okay.
That's valid because even though Rodgers is infuriated, he wants to be a Packer.
Yeah.
Sure.
So don't be shocked if Green Bay caves and gets a receiver early, first or second round.
Do the right
same
thing.
with Seattle. They get an O-line.
Or if they sign a proven veteran, because that's another thing. You've got a plethora of... Yeah, but you do have some guys that can be attainable. I mean, shit.
Do you think that appeases them, though?
It depends who that player is.
Signing isn't necessarily going to make the splash that a player that's heated wants. They want a big name out of college or this or that.
Sorry, Jordan Love.
Yeah, but not for nothing. I mean, what would it take to pry Julio? Now, Will Fuller's somewhere in the middle.
They would have to overpay
Will
for
Fuller
Julio.
is super talented. Put him as a 2 opposite Devontae.
When he's healthy.
When he's healthy.
Yeah, he can't stay healthy for more than 8 games.
There are players out there that I think are not Julio Jones, but that Rodgers would still be happy about.
But we're probably not going to be talking about them. And that's the point.
And this is another thing. And this is why getting him a receiver is even more important. Aaron Jones, I don't believe is going to be a Green Bay Packer next year. And
I do. He seems, the last 2 interviews I've listened and watched with him, he seems like he's pretty happy there, and I think he's genuine. I really do.
But they gotta see the value in keeping him, and that's where I think it gets a little murky. I think he walks. I think he gets big money.
We'll listen to this again, and we'll feel
then
it out.
Then you got AJ Dillon will be the future running back.
Speaking of
all the more reason why they got to get Rodgers, that other receiver opposite Devontae.
Right.
Speaking of the NFC North,
James White to the Packers. I said it.
We didn't get to really speak on it when it happened, but how about the Lions and the Rams?
Yeah, that was a big
fun.
trade.
Make of that deal.
This is fun. I tweeted this, and
this
so
is
did
an
Rich.
interesting one.
And I like this. We disagreed a little bit here, and generally speaking, the public disagrees with me, but I like this. So what? Let me give you my take real quick. What I think happens here is L.A. wins because Stafford is the better quarterback. Yes, he's older, but he's the better quarterback right now. Jared Goff proved that he is not that guy. I know there was some injury issues late in the season. In my opinion, he's not that guy for L.A. Never was. Those guys rallied around him, acted like that was their dude, and I get it. That's their job. But at the end of the day, he was not. He proved he could not get it done with guys like Kupp, with guys like Woods, with guys like Higbee. You got guys at his disposal that he can.
You also don't talk about the coach's wife.
There's a lot of underlying issues there, man.
The X's and the O's, but don't call your coaches. Yeah. Listen,
Stafford's a better fit in L.A.
Yes.
Yes, they're losing picks. They lost, I think, 2 picks to Detroit, and it's.
It feels like an overpay until they start winning.
I think Stafford is the answer. Hear me out. I think Stafford is the answer, and I'm going to be. I'll eat my words when he's not, but I think they do obviously much better than Detroit. But Detroit wins the long game. But right now, what LA needed was Stafford, a quarterback like Stafford. He's a tough-ass bastard that can just get out there and win games. And I think he's going to do it for him. I like the trade for Stafford. I think LA wins.
This is my problem with the trade. I'm not saying that they couldn't have got Stafford and upgraded, but I think that they were so trigger-happy to make the trade.
They overpaid.
Yeah, that they kind of... Yeah, exactly. Because this is the crazy thing. I said that if they were going to do some shit like that, it should have been for Deshaun Watson But to Houston's credit, now that they have a new GM over there, fuck you, Bill O'Brien, fuck you, AJ Hinch. He actually asked for Aaron Donald. And they were like, are you fucking high? But the thing is,
yes,
arguably,
I'm asking anyway.
but the
arguably
thing that's
the best
cool
defensive
about
player in
that,
the league.
the thing that's cool about that is that it shows that there is a different aura upstairs on what they're trying to pull over there. Now, getting back to this trade,
Gives you a little more insight.
Jared Goff's big failure is coming up super small in the Super Bowl. This particular year, even though I agree with Elliott and I agree with you, I don't think he was the man for LA. I thought that he showed some serious toughness, beating Russell Wilson on the road and playing well enough to win in Green Bay, but they were missing Aaron Donald for half the game, and their defense got pretty much broken down by Aaron Rodgers. I'm not, once again, 33 years old and with his own share of injuries. I think that's what concerns me
About Stafford.
Yes.
But here's the thing. Here's back to Brady. The conversation of greatness revolves around consistency.
Yes.
Stafford has proven that he's a consistent,
Absolutely
high
right.
That's
performer
what-
at QB.
you know, that is
with
a good point.
Less talent than he's going to have.
That's a good point.
Whereas Goff has had all the talent in the world.
He's
He is
always
now at
among
that
the
make or
top
break.
10.
This is the second part of his career.
But he
He's gonna
has
have a
to win.
chance.
He has to win.
Goff is going to have a chance to prove whether he's an NFL quarterback in the next 2 seasons.
I don't-
If he doesn't do it, he's out of the league.
I
That's
agree with
valid.
you. And I don't think he's going to
He'll
do it.
end up like a Blake
He does not have a
Bortles.
good platform in Detroit to do it. And he had, okay, so look at it this way. He had a much better platform in LA.
Mm-hmm.
He's moving to a much lesser team in Detroit with less weapons.
Oh, for sure.
Arguably his best receiver is going
Nobody
to be
wants
Jones.
to be there.
I mean,
Jordan, nobody wants to be there.
right. Not even the people that live in Detroit want to be there.
Their two greatest offensive players in their team's history didn't want to be there. Megatron and Barry Sanders. What else do you need to know?
Well, so look at it this way. This is it. I'm agreeing with L. I think this is where he's off into the sunset here. He's done, man, because it's not going to pan out
I can
for him.
see it.
I think
can see it
Stafford's going
happening.
to
2
shine.
years.
Goff's done. A couple of years he's out, man.
Stafford, I'm still not sure if he will get to that level.
God, I am so hyped up on
But
it.
in a
I
way,
think this is it
I
for him.
want him to, because I have admired his game for quite a few years, and I have felt bad that he was in a shit situation.
It'll be no excuses, though.
I just
because
think
this
they could have
is
got
his
it for
chance.
cheaper.
It is the
Yep.
age factor, but I'm sorry. Like, his game was never based on sheer athleticism. This is his chance to say, now I have the cast I wanted. Let's do it.
He's got a hell of a coach that can really.
He's got everything.
Oh,
I
Open
could
up
throw, and
his-
he
his
could throw
game.
he could throw the shit out of the ball, and he's tough as hell. So
And the
let's see how
Rams
that-
have a decent formula for winning games in January. I mean,
They do, and they're facing. So again, you got the Seattle situation we've talked about. Arizona's set at QB, right? They're not moving on.
Kyler staying
Murray's their
put.
dude. But the Niners, there's a lot of chatter about the Niners situation.
Jimmy G and
I think
Mullins?
they're gonna keep.
well, yeah.
I think they're gonna keep Jimmy G. I do.
Really?
Yeah, I think they realized what they invested, and at the end of the day,
Way too much money.
Way too much money.
at the end of the year, at the
about
end of
a
the day, he's a year removed from a Super Bowl.
On the back of his defense.
On the
Yeah.
back of his defense, yeah, we can say that for sure. We can say that.
We learn from the best. Sorry, I can't help myself.
No, it is what it is. It is what it is. But no, I think he's staying there because I'm not saying that he's not tradable. But when you take into all the other variables and all the other factors, the boat sailed on New England. New England wanted to make him the next guy after Brady. It was more Belichick wanted to make him the guy after Brady. Kraft wasn't having it. And I don't think he has that same allure to what the Patriots thought he was, even though he did play in a bowl. And, like, you know, that's another team. I mean, you got a couple of veterans that are not the future answer, but they could be the answer for a year. You got the Fitzpatricks, and you got guys like your boy, Andy Dalton. Guys that you could plug in for a year, guys that are consummate professionals that young kids can learn from. And Fitz,
A ton of them, but no one wants that to be their dude more than a stopgap. Your stopgap has to be just that.
Because the
Nobody
scary
wants
thing with
Andy
your
Dalton to be our fucking.
Hey,
and
that's
if you
my
do, you're
guy.
fine. Yeah, like
Andy
get outta here,
Dalton's
dude.
my
Because the
guy.
problem-
10 years
Shut
ago,
the fuck up.
Yeah, I mean,
but Fitz is worse because Fitz has that competitive fire that you want him to only be there to mentor the kid and get him in. But then Fitz starts playing well,
Right.
and now you're fucking up the kid's confidence.
So let's go AFC West though. So the Chargers are set. They got their dude.
Oh, no question.
Rookie's great.
No question. Drew Lock stepped up this year towards the end. I think that kid's got his shit together.
So he's going to have a prove-it year, I think.
I think so, but I think he's going
Oakland.
north.
What about Oakland? Derek Carr getting shopped.
He's on the way out, and that's the other team with the Russell Wilson saga. And to your point, I agree with you. I don't think Russell Wilson's going anywhere. I think he's like kiss and make up, stay where he belongs.
But if he did, he goes to Oakland, you think?
If I had to pick between
Possible
Dallas
suitor?
and Oakland, I still think it's Dallas.
Dallas, really? Okay.
I still think it's Dallas.
I don't see the money is
The wild card would
too
be the
much.
Jets.
Let me drop this on you real quick though. North Dakota State product, Carson Wentz. Give me your ideas and thoughts on that.
Never thought he was that good, man.
Thank you.
Like, I'm sorry.
God, thank you.
He had flashes of really, really good play.
The year he got
but
the
he
first
was always
time he
made
really
out
got
of
hurt.
glass. And as soon as he didn't have decent receivers, he went to shit.
Shout out to James Turner.
Yeah. Well, and to be fair, he's had a real rough go of it the last couple of years with injuries for who he's throwing to. But nonetheless, he's regressed because of that. He has not elevated those
Significantly.
players.
Yeah,
Look,
significantly.
so you talk about the greats. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady.
He's
they
old
put-
physically for his age.
That too.
He's taken a lot of ass whoopings.
Yeah.
too. So yeah, whoever pays for him is going to overpay for maybe 1.5 years of decent production.
Fellas,
Yeah.
he's going to Indy. I do think that there
That
is
would
a
be-
possibility for a career resurrection for one reason and one reason only. Indy is a top 5 offensive line.
O-line, yeah.
And if they can keep him upright and he can start springing some
How'd
confidence.
that work for Phillip Rivers?
He's so slow.
Yeah, but he's so fucking old, though.
Yeah, I actually feel more confident in Phillip Rivers than I do Carson Wentz. I do, and that's what I'm telling you. That's
But Rivers
not gonna.
did
It's gonna
make
be
the
worse for
playoffs.
them.
I mean, he did make the playoffs and,
Carson-
and he gave Buffalo a damn good game. Got to give him that.
To me,
Carson Wentz
that's
at the
a
helm.
lateral move. It's a younger, same issue. Your quarterback is not good enough to take you to the next step.
So
Yes,
you really,
exactly.
so you wholeheartedly
Exactly.
believe that after the Andrew Luck retirement, impromptu, that they're just basically plugging in 1.5, 2 year guys and like
Grasping at straws. I
They
think
have-
so.
They
I
have
mean,
the pieces for
they've
an
had
elite
some weird
team,
luck. The Peyton thing, then the Andrew Luck thing.
yeah, man.
Then you got Phillip Rivers in there throwing sideways.
Yeah.
And then they got possibly Carson Wentz. Jacoby Brissett's another guy.
I
He's
prefer
been
Brissett
linked to
over
New England.
Wentz.
He's
But
been.
for Brissett, at least you're not overpaying for it.
You're right.
You
Yeah,
know what
you can
got
get that
in him.
at
The thing is,
face
Philly
value.
has to deal him because that contract is crazy.
Dumb money. It's dumb money.
Ertz is
dude.
going to end up with him. It's kind of like that bond that like Gronk and Brady have, just not the same elite level of it. But I do think Ertz ends up in Indy with him. I would say Trubisky, another guy.
I was gonna say Chicago. Yeah.
He's been linked to New England too.
New England basically can do whatever they want.
They're linked to everybody that's like in the middle right
Which
now.
is like most of the fucking league.
Yeah, I hate to
the
say it
point.
like, yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. You're right.
They're not getting a top tier guy in New England, but you
They're
know.
going to draft.
The teams that don't have any quarterback options are drafting someone.
Yep.
But to
right?
be
The
fair,
Jags and the
There's
Jets
not going to be much
are-
left over.
But to be
Kyle
fair, guys,
Trask, maybe. Okay.
to be
Where's he
really
gonna
fair,
go? Right.
that's third round material.
There you go.
But to be fair, when they drafted Tom Brady in round 6, when's the last time the Patriots drafted a quarterback and when they drafted him, they were like, you know what? This guy is going to be the cornerstone. It wasn't when they drafted Tom Brady.
Right.
It wasn't when they drafted Brissett or Jimmy G. You got to go back to Bledsoe. That's the last time when they picked that guy, they're like, that's our guy. That's our guy for sure.
Well-
And it's a good story. I mean, you think about guys that were drafted before Brady, Chad Pennington, Giovanni Carmazzi. That motherfucker went to Hofstra. Hofstra. I played at Hofstra.
All right, let's move it along. Let's go off the quarterbacks here, and that was a great discussion. I like where that actually took us, guys. But let's move it along. Biggest news of the day: J.J. Watt, a decade in Houston. Potential places that he could land. L, where do you think he's ending up?
I mean, the obvious choice would be Pittsburgh, right?
With his little brother.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going there, but I like that. It's fun to think about.
Yeah.
Pay cuts are going to have to happen.
Right. I think he's still a good player.
Oh, no
I
question.
think he's going to be asking for top tier money.
And he's not going to get it, though. He's not going to get it.
He
I
would
don't
take a discount to play with his brother.
I think so. But here's the thing.
Have to.
So Pittsburgh is your final answer. That's where you think he ends up? It just fits the best?
Yeah.
I hate
Rich?
this. Okay, I'm going to give you an AFC and NFC team. If he goes to the AFC, he's going to Pittsburgh. If he goes to NFC, I hate to fucking say it, but he's going to Tampa.
Okay. I'll just say my two options here. Yeah. So an RDS.
I know, it's annoying. It's fucking annoying.
Well, here's the point, though. He's potentially at this point in his career, he's ring chasing, and it's age is a factor again. He's been 10 years in Houston. He apologized to Watson for wasting another year of his talent. He wants a ring himself. So I either think he ends up in Tampa in an already crowded defense full of talent. That defense is nasty. Who's going to make room? You got Sue down there. You got JPP. I mean,
you add him to Seattle. They're a bit. That could be nice. Or the Rams.
Could be some. I don't know what the contract situation is down there either.
If they could afford him with the age of their D-line and his health issues in the past, it'd be great for him to play fewer snaps.
Yeah.
Why not?
They would love that.
Yeah.
Role player,
right?
It's
kind of like Seau in New England when he was winding down.
The best fucking rotation player ever.
Yeah.
I like the Tampa fit the best. My secondary pick would be his hometown in Wisconsin. He might end up in Green Bay. Potentially, it's close to where his wife plays soccer in Chicago. Close enough, anyway. And he played for Wisconsin, so it's a good fit.
Huh.
I'm not saying it's going to happen.
Or Chicago, for that matter.
Or Chicago. That's actually a good fit, too. I don't
But
think
not
he'll
if
go
he wants to win.
I don't think he's going to go to
it would
Chicago
be pretty
because
pimps to
he's
play alongside Khalil Mack.
I was going to say he could put up great fucking
But you
numbers,
still need a
though.
quarterback. His quarterback from Houston better follow him to Chicago.
They'd be a
That's
real-
a different conversation. Then.
They'd be a real Bears team with a great defense.
That's
and
a different conversation. Watson went there with Watt. That's different. That's way different.
I don't think that's
And
happening.
Trubisky somewhere bagging groceries.
I think he ends up in Tampa. That's the most likely scenario, in my opinion. I'd like to see him play with his brother. That'd be cool.
I am
That's a fun
staunch
storyline.
on Deshaun Watson going to Carolina, though.
Yeah.
Oh, another guy who gets forgotten
Watch
about.
him stay put, man. Watch him stay put.
Another guy who gets forgotten about, former Super Bowl MVP Von Miller, might be on the way out in Denver. That is another guy that may be entering free agency. And another guy that's going to be desired by teams contending for a title.
So I asked you guys in our text before if we thought that this is the most wide open QB offseason. Is it just a changing of the guard? Are we just at that age where we're seeing enough of the people we've seen in the past few years, and it's just like, no, it's just time. People
You
are
know what
moving
it
around.
is? I think on certain layers, we've been spoiled and we forget how consistently good. I'm going to name quickly 5 guys. Brady, Ben, Rivers, Peyton, and yes, Eli. Those were the 5.
And Ben is in that category. I don't care what anybody says. I don't want him to be, but he is in that category.
And I'll throw Aaron Rodgers in there, but I see Aaron Rodgers as kind of in between both the eras. In between that era where he replaced Favre, but this newer breed. So he's dead on in the middle. That's why I didn't mention him.
Fair enough.
But those 5 guys, throw in Rodgers if you want. I'm saying people are realizing more and more that with the exception of a Patrick Mahomes, who's generational, all the hype and all the bullshit, it's not necessarily translating with all these newer cats. Lamar Jackson, to L's point, a lot of regression. I mean, he has great physical attributes. Josh Allen, this particular year, he made a huge jump.
We've said it before about Lamar. He's a great athlete, not a great quarterback.
I think he's a very good quarterback. I just think he doesn't have quite the mechanics throwing the ball to make it accurate. He reads the game decently. A lot of people that make this argument want to crack on his intelligence and his reading the game.
No,
That's
it's
not
not
what I'm
that.
saying.
No.
He makes the correct throw most of the time. He just doesn't put it where it needs to be every time.
It's a physical thing. That it's not a football knowledge type thing. It's just
something
basically
that could be tweaked over his
Yeah.
career. A lot of
Man,
quarterbacks at this point start getting with
I like the
specific
guy.
QB coaches, mechanics. It might not work because of how elusive and what he does. It might not allow him to do the things that you need to do to get set in the pocket and do the perfect throw that some of these technicians like a Brady do. I don't know enough about being a quarterback to say that, but he makes the right read more often than not. To be clear about my criticism, that's all.
One fleeting thought on Deshaun Watson. Now, obviously, he had DeAndre Hopkins for his whole career with the exception of this season.
Let me guess. You think he's going to Carolina?
For sure.
I'm just kidding. Go.
No, I'm dead ass. He's going to Carolina.
Go.
He is going to Carolina. But 26-22 record. Now, granted, this year was a rough year. But when you consider that everybody is saying how good he is, and I do think that this year he impressed me more than any of the years he went to the playoffs. But when you consider that he was with D-Hop for that long, and the record is 26-22 this year included, you're like, there's a lot of hype for a guy barely over 500. But then again, my quarterback will be a Hall of Famer, and he was 500. So I try to take it all and remind myself that this does take a team, and it's a lot more than one person's. Because, unfortunately, just like pitchers, they have win-loss records, whereas other players can lose you the game, but they're not in the newspaper or on the website with the L next to them.
Well, speaking of winning games, guys, that's what Tom Brady just did in the Super Bowl, and he celebrated like Tom Brady should. You got 7 rings, dude. You can do whatever the fuck you want. Did you guys see him throw this Lombardi trophy?
That was funny
from
shit.
boat to boat.
Yeah.
God, who else can do that and get away with that? I know everybody's talking about this right now, so if you didn't see it, just Google it, YouTube that shit.
Do you recall Gronk denting the Lombardi?
Yeah, he actually took a pitch from, who was it, Edelman or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Well, because Edelman played quarterback in his college days. But, no, that was cool. It kind of sets you back into the human level, the younger level of playing sports, and reminding you, like, what it feels like when you're with your guys and you get a big W, or you do something that maybe not everybody thought you were capable of doing. Right. Whether you like him, it's not even the point.
You gotta respect him, but let the guy have some fun, man.
No, I mean, it's nice to see what happened. I mean, there's a lot of feel good stories on this too. You take a guy like JPP. In addition to his shenanigans on 4th of July, he had a horrible car accident. Broke his neck.
Yep.
He came back, won a Super Bowl.
They weren't sure he was going to play again.
Never sure about that. And, it gives me something to smile about being a Giants fan and remembering what he did for us. And he's always a Giant in my heart, so I'm happy for him. A lot of veteran players that have played a lot of snaps. Look at Mike Evans, man.
Yep.
All the years.
Caught one pass.
Never made the playoffs.
That's all that matters, though. They're not going to remember that he caught one pass in the Super Bowl. They're going to remember that he's got a ring.
And like him or not,
he
had a very decorated career. And then you got a lot of veterans. Your boy, Leonard Fournette. I know you weren't exactly...
You know what? I'm over it, man. He let the guy have his ring. I'm happy for him. I'm just being a bitter little bitch. But it's fine. He was never...
There's a lot of guys. Even the head coach himself, Bruce Arians.
Yeah, I like Bruce.
That was the point about the super team, though. Like, good for them for getting their rings, but...
It is.
But
at the end of the day, I think we can all agree that it's still a short-term approach. And that's why be happy about one thing. It's not the NBA in the sense that so many teams are going to go the super team route, even though they made an example of it, because most teams don't have the desperation.
So does this feel
the rare opportunity to get a 6-time Super Bowl champion, now 7-time free agent. There's a lot of variables that made that historical.
A lot of teams, my team especially, have picked up aging veterans thinking that was the difference they needed to fucking win a Super Bowl.
I hear
this team did it.
You guys want Golden Tate?
Does this kind of
give them any ideas?
Yeah, definitely not.
Jerry, send us Gallup for Tate, and we'll give you
another facelift. Now, does this smell like the? Does this smell like the Toronto victory to cross platforms here in the NBA? Basically bringing in Kawhi and doing it, and then he's dipsetting out to LA.
It's not quite as horrific because
that's the first stench in my nose that I smelled. I'm like,
because
wow,
Brady,
it's kind of
because this is the thing with Brady.
It's not the same though. But
let's say hypothetically, if Brady wins next year, nobody's ever three-peated. I can't believe I'm even saying this shit. Nobody's ever three-peated. You're going to get a third year out of Brady in Tampa if that's the case.
They'll re-up him in a
heartbeat
and he'll come back.
If you, no matter how history remembers this shit, no matter what he does in his third year, if you won 2 fucking Super Bowls, even if you won 0-16 in year 3, that was a good acquisition.
Yep.
But it's still short-term based.
Worth every million.
Like their first Super Bowl in Tampa.
Yes.
They put it together, they built for years, and then all of a sudden Chucky comes in, takes them to the bowl, and then they're...
That was it.
Yeah, he inherited Tony Dungy's team.
Was that Lynch? Lynch was there?
Yeah,
still,
John
right?
Lynch, Mike Allstott.
Recent Hall of Fame.
Dilfer.
Allstott. Oh my God, I forgot about Mike.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Brad Johnson.
Was it Brad Johnson?
Dill Hole was against my Giants.
My bad.
I could have won the Super Bowl quarterback.
Brad Johnson played for Dallas too. Fuck. All right.
Jerry, you want Golden Tate? All right.
Let's wrap up this segment, guys. Thank you for hanging in there with us. We're going to get a quick beer. We'll be right back on the mics in just a second. Stay tuned.
I can win. 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 I can win.